Shalom everyone, and today we're going to study about the sign of Leo, the month of Av, Chodesh Av. Okay, Av in Hebrew is a father, and we know that the ruling planet of the month of Av, Leo, is the sun. We know also that the previous month that we're just finishing, the month of Tammuz, Tammuz is Cancer. The ruling planet is the moon, which is the female mother um, symbol. And we also that the Cancer, the symbolism of the sign of Cancer is the motherly love. So we have Tammuz and Av, Cancer and Leo, the moon and the sun, the mother and the father symbolism. Something else that we have in common between the two signs, that when we go through Kabbalistic astrology, every sign is sharing a planet with another sign. Let's say Gemini, so it's sharing the planet of Mercury together with Virgo. And before that, Venus has Taurus and Libra. Before that, we have Mars. Mars has Aries and Scorpio. Okay, so we have over here, like every planet is not a mega powerful planet, and it's still sharing between two planets. Now we have two mega planets, the moon and the sun, that, I don't think we care. Most people have no idea where is Mars in the night sky. Nobody cares. Most people have no idea. Or Jupiter, or Mercury, or Venus, even. Okay, but everybody knows where is the sun and where is the moon. And those two mega planets, which are the most dominant, uh, influencing our lives, not just astrologically, every person knows that they influence our lives because they're responsible for so many physical uh, crucial phenomenon in our daily life and in nature. Okay, we can't live without the sun. Low tide, high tide, the moon cycles affect us much more than we know, but that's a physical thing that everybody, there's no doubt about it. Do we have any, but scientifically, does the planet Mars affect us? I doubt it. Does scientifically only, like in the superficial level. Mercury, Venus, no. Every scientist knows how much are we influenced by the sun and also by the moon. That can be measured by today's science. So those two planets that are like much more present in our daily life, visibly and noticeably, and each one of them is influencing by one sign, zodiac sign only. For the moon, we have only Cancer. For the sun, only Leo. That means we have over here mega influence. The energy is very, very highly concentrated, very intense, and therefore, as we know when we learn Kabbalah, when we are talking about the Hebrew letters that are controlling or generating the force that we visibly see as the planets, we know that these seven letters are called the double letters. Why? Because these seven letters in the Hebrew alphabet have two sounds: harsh, strong, and soft, which means every planet has a harsh influence and a soft, a judgmental influence and a merciful influence. Which influence is going to affect us? So the Kabbalistic teachings tell us it all depends in our behavior, which means we are to determine if it's going to be harsh or not. Now, we also know another thing, that if we read the book of Bnei Sachar of Rabbi Tzvi Elimelech of Dinov, one of the greatest Hasidic teachers in Poland in the 19th century, that he collected all the astrological texts in Jewish writings for millennia, and he collected them together. And it tells us something that is very important. We know that these 2 months are negative, full of judgments. So we already explained that. We're going to explain it later on, but he adds something else. Again, if we said that we have again the 2 months coming together in the middle of the summer, Cancer and Leo, the moon and the sun, the mother and the father. Okay, we have also the 2 letters that are responsible for the creation, or to generate the creation of these 2 zodiac signs. These are Chet, the letter Chet for Cancer, and the letter Tet for Leo. Chet and Tet is, whoever knows Hebrew, obviously you know exactly what it means. Chet and Tet, you read it as Chet. Chet means in simple Hebrew a sin. So what is the sin that we have to encounter with during these 2 months? So we know that it says, then he mentions in the book of Lamentations, chapter 1, verse 8, Chet Chate'a Yerushalayim. Jerusalem committed a sin, Chet. Okay? So the answer is that these days are prone for the sin, and therefore, if we are complaining that the sin of the golden calf and the sin of the spies, the sin happened in these 2 months, the golden calf was in the month of Cancer, and the sin of the spies happened in the month of Leo. So he says, so the argument is, what can we do about it? The influence of these 2 letters, Chet and Tet, coming together in such an intense time of the year, Cancer and Leo, so we had no choice. Nobody can blame us from committing the sin, since that's the name of this month. However, when you study monotheism, true monotheism, you know that more than that we want the pleasure and the bliss of the light of the Creator, the light of the Creator wants to share with us. However, in this world, we need to make a choice. We must acquire illumination, bliss, completion, and satisfaction that needs to be acquired by ourselves. And therefore, yes, in the place there is the biggest light, that's a place you need to work the hardest. If there was no sin of the golden calf, then Moses comes down with the tablets, and on that day, the blessing and the message of the one God and love and kindness to everyone will be spread for the rest of the world. No more death, no more pain, no more sorrow, no more cries. And the 17th of Tammuz would have become, instead of the sin of the golden calf, the day of the receiving of the 2 tablets. Same things, if the spies came and didn't complain, or complained and the people didn't listen to them, then the 9th of Av would become the day that the Hebrew nation, together with Moses, entered the Holy Land, the Promised Land, and bring the Messianic message to the rest of the world, and game over. Okay, so we see that in these 2 months, we have so much intensity, so much bliss, therefore we need to work on our spirituality in much more intense way, and the gain during these 2 months should be much higher because no pain, no gain. If you want to have a big gain, you need to have a bigger effort because you cannot have a small effort and get a big gain. That doesn't work in our universe. So laying that introduction will help us to understand the background behind these 2 months that are full of judgment. As the Zohar says, we have to be extra careful during these 2 months, and I'll explain more about it later on. Okay, so here we have the original verse discussing that from the Zohar. Zohar, the book of Parashat Shemot, in Hasulam commentary, verse 193, אלו הם שלושה ירחים שדין קשה שורה בעולם. These are, it's based on the verse from Exodus 2:2, and the mother of Moses, and she hid him for 3 months. Yes, the mother of Moses hid him for 3 consecutive following months. However, this is also a code that there are 3 months over the year. These are the 3 months of harsh judgment: Tammuz, Av, and Tevet, Cancer, Leo, and Capricorn. In the calendar, these 3 months are not following each other. Tevet is in the middle of the winter. During these months, the Shekhinah, the divine providence, the Holy Spirit, is hidden because of the judgments. What does it mean? We need to make a bigger effort to overcome the judgments and to reveal the Shekhinah in our lives. This is really important, and that will explain the polarity and the contradictions about the positive and the negative forces hiding during these 2 months. Okay, but now we want to focus, after I explained the background, the big picture, let's go back into focusing on the month of Leo. But before that, we understand from that, what I just said, there's a paradox in these 2 months. On one hand, very intense positive energy. On the other hand, the biggest amount of judgments over the year, and also the biggest calamities, which means if we are talking about the decree that everybody who left Egypt must wilt and die in the desert for 40 years. Okay, the destruction of the first temple, the second temple, the destruction of the rebellion of Bar Kokhba against the Romans over 60 years after the destruction of the second temple, the expulsion of the Jews from Spain, and so many other big calamities that happened on the same day, on the night of Av, and also so many other things, negative things that happened. So does that mean that it's a bad time? No, nobody says that. It's not a bad time. It's a time with very intense forces. Those forces come, of course, as we understand the rules of this universe, they come with the biggest judgments of the whole year. However, when we overcome those judgments, the result is the tikkun, and therefore we see that on one hand, if we are looking at the 9th of Av as the day of the snake, as the Zohar teaches us about the book of Lamentations, this is the day of the snake, the day that finally the snake got us. Either when the spies came from the tour in the promised land, and then all the people listened only to the people speaking evil about the land. Bad-mouthing Malchut. Bad-mouthing Malchut? No, you bad-mouth the Creator. Because if the creation is negative, is bad, hopeless, it means you're bad-mouthing the Creator himself, God forbid. And that means that you are inserting doubt, negativity, misfortune, and hopelessness inside yourself. So you hurt yourself. You cannot change the Creator, okay? But you can change his image in your eyes, and that what counts. And therefore, when we say that this is the day of the snake, as the Zohar teaches us, the day the snake came out of his hole and got us and took over. That's why it's such a dark day, the 9th of Av. However, it says that the Messiah was born in this day, and if you take the grammatical, the gematria, the numerical value of the word nachash, a snake, is 358, which is also in Hebrew the same number for Mashiach, the Messiah, 358, which means, what does it mean, the Messiah? When we transform, turn around, correct, overcome the negativity of the snake, we reveal the light of the Mashiach. Just remember something very important. When we speak about negative, dark forces, we have to be really careful not to give them an independent power, because they are not independent. Negative forces, dark forces, are not independent from the Creator. Otherwise, you're not monotheistic. If you really believe in one God and there's nothing but God, so there's no other God, there's no God of the light and God of the darkness. Satan has no equal powers to the Creator himself. He is just a servant of the Creator. How come a servant? Because if we want to achieve the greatest light, the Messianic light, you will need to overcome, transform, correct, and fix the power that is called the snake, Nachash. When? The 9th of Av, this is the time that this energy is the most intense, although it's available all year long. So let's go back. How do you call that force in Hebrew? Klipa. Klipa means a shell. So it means a shell because you want to have access to something that you really want, something that you really crave for. You need to remove the peel in order to have access to the pleasure within. So, but if you take the pleasure outside of the peel has no power, has no existence, only just because it is hiding the real, true, positive force of the Creator. So the peel is giving us, the klipa, is giving us kind of opportunity to get the ticket for enjoying the pleasure that is within. Who created the klipa at the first time? It's humanity. Because when we connect as Adam in the great story of the Garden of Eden, then if you read the story carefully, you realize, as the Zohar explains us, that the real sin did not happen on the first bite, only on the second bite. The first bite, Eve was really concentrating to connect to the light of the tree of knowledge and to elevate it to the highest place. However, it was not the time yet. It was too powerful. And how do we know? It says that she tasted from it, and then she felt lust. She had lust for the fruit, which means the force was too intense for her. She was not ready to deal with so much intensity of positive light. She lost her control. Then it became cravings from a negative way, which means she lost it. The next bite was out of lust, not out of service to the Creator. Which means, what's the service that Adam and Eve did in the Garden of Eden? The Zohar is teaching us that the service was to eat the fruits, which means the sefirot of the tree of life, stage by stage, enjoying the creation from one point of view. Desire to receive for the sake of sharing. Sharing with whom? With the Creator. What does it mean? I cannot enjoy by myself. However, if I enjoy because the Creator wants me to, I'll enjoy it as doing Him a service. That what Adam and Eve were doing in the Garden of Eden. They came to a very high level in the tree of life. They reached the level that the Zohar says it's the Yesod of Chokhmah. It's a very high level. And that in that level, the intensity was starting to be very, very strong. When they ate and they could not turn it into service and they were occupied with self-indulgence, then the whole story collapsed. Why? Because the desire to receive for the self alone appeared with its full force. What does it mean? A short circuit. What does it mean? When we desire out of lust, which means I care of nothing, I just want to feel the pleasure and let everything else, like, who cares about it? Who cares about the Creator, about the creation, about the rules of the universe? I just want more. That is a sin. What does that create? A negative energy. The energy, why is it negative? Because it's not in affinity with the Creator. The energy of the Creator is endless, loving and sharing. The moment you have a selfish, self-contained, self-centered force, that's exactly the opposite of the godly force. And that creates a boundary, a blockage. That's called klipa, a shell. It's not a force of its own. It's just a result of mismanagement of the forces of the light. All what we call Satan, the dark forces, whatever names you want to call it, it's all different aspects of that first negative force. It's not a force of its own, it's a result of our mismanagement of the intensity of God's light and His shining light. Our job is basically to correct the mistakes, the klipot that we created beforehand. Why was there a choice to fail? If you don't have a choice to fail, then you don't have really a free will. And then if there's no free will, there's no earning, there's no victory, there's no hope, there's no fighting, there's no adventure, there's no nothing that we really can define the positive aspect of human life. Okay? It's all engulfed in the month of Av. So, the godly fatherly love is manifested in the month of Av, Father, and the motherly love is in the month of Cancer, Tammuz. Okay? So Av means father, and here it's very, very clear. Now let's go into a deeper, more detailed explanation of the nature of this month. So, this is the in the middle month of the summer. So if you want to go into the equations of the Kabbalistic forces playing during this month, so we have 4 seasons that are related to the 4 letters of the Tetragrammaton. And now the season we're talking about is the summer. The summer is the letter Hey, or the upper Hey. Sefirat Bina, and Sefirat Bina is representing the element of water, sharing, and emotions. Therefore, we understand that all three signs of the summer, Cancer, Leo, and Virgo, underneath the surface, in the core, they are water signs, which means what is the real force behind them is water, sharing, emotions. Cancer, we know, I'm very much into sharing. They have more water. It's not the only water, but that same water is behind the Leo. So the Leo has also that very strong drive to share, but it would not manifest through the like Cancer or like Virgo. It would be manifest as in a different way. With Leo, it's mostly like I'm the only one sharing opinions over here. I'm the king. Okay? I know exactly what's good for everyone, and therefore no one has the right to express their uh, their vision next to me because I am everybody else's vision. Okay, so we can see superficially where it's coming from. Yes, it is about sharing, but it's a very different sharing than Cancer. Although Cancer also could be motherly love, very oppressive sharing. Both of them, Cancer and Leo, because of that power, the sharing can become obsessive. One in a motherly way, one in the fatherly way. Obsessive means very coercive. And we know there's no coercion in spirituality. You cannot force somebody to be successful. You cannot force somebody to be wise. You cannot force someone to be happy. Why? Because in this world, we need to create all of that through our earning ourselves. Okay? So that, of course, will be the problem with Cancer and Leo. They want it so good for others, so bad, so it becomes so bad. Virgo also are very sharing people. Either they tell you stories and they share with you details that you have no idea why do you need these details, but they are insisting you need these details. But also we know that a lot of Virgos that are involved in sharing, like uh, caring for others and all kinds of healing professions. So you can see that very strong in the Virgo. Now, but we have two more cycles on this kaleidoscope that is called the zodiac that are very active over here. Leo is the second sign of the summer. Second means left column. Left column means fire. And also, when we're talking about, like in the common astrology, everybody knows that Leo is a fire sign. Yes? Is it exactly like Aries, which is also a fire sign? Of course not. Aries like a baby, and Leo wants always to be the great king. Aries never want to be the king. They want to be always the naughty baby, or at least like the knight on the white horse. But being the king, that's not their vision. Leo, they must be the king. They won't be anybody's knight or servant or child. They'll always have to show the fatherly control and force. Look at the sun. All the planets revolve around the sun, and all the planets derive their life force from the sun. That's how the Leo feels like. But it has over here two fires and one water, as we said. Deep inside, it is water. Emotions. Leo is very, very into emotions. Leo without a drama, that's not a Leo. It's all about the drama and the drama. Yes, there's a lot of fireworks and any kind of fire, and so that's part of the show. A lot of gold and precious stuff around the Leo, Okay, but the drama is full of emotions, like any good drama. Drama without emotions is not a drama. So you see two fire, one because it's a fire sign, another because it's the second month of the summer, which is also left column is a fire. So there's a lot of fire, which means what is fire? The nature of fire is to consume, to eat, to take, to devour. The moment the fire stops eating, it doesn't exist. So the fire must devour in order to exist. So here we have this, on one hand, the water is caring, sharing, loving, and emotions. And then you have on the other end the fire, the show, selfishness, um, huge desire to control, to grow, to show off, and so on. We see those two forces playing the major drama in the life of Leos. So that will mean charisma. That will mean never a dull moment. That means a lot of action. Okay, that means the need for people's attention, the need to be in the middle of the attention. Okay, so leadership, running the show. That could be also being a teacher or a teacher, a leader, anything, or an actor, anything that will be using that charisma and that super energy of the sun that needs always to project it to others. There's a need for the crowd over here. As the sun, a sun without the planets, there's no solar system. It's just a sun, lonely sun, but it's not. Okay? So Leos are usually not so much, lonely people. They need it. And if they are not, if they are lonely without people, it means something really terrible happened. And therefore, you see those Leos that they behave like cats, not like lions. And that could be basically because something happened that take away the arena, the stage, the crown from them, and they're going through a very painful tikkun. But that's a need, that's a drive, that's a force that is motivating them. So we see for this, we can move on a little bit in understanding the power of Leo. So what do we have over here? So on one hand, we see uh, the letter Kaf, which is the letter behind the creation of the sun. Now the letter Kaf is the same letter as the letter of the word Keter. Keter is the uppermost Sephirah. Keter, one of the meanings of the word Keter is the most common name. Keter means a crown. It means also to surround, which means to be the cause of, to be in control of. So we see it's all correlating. A crown, the crown that basically runs the show. When the Zohar teaches us about the Hebrew letters in the introduction to the Zohar, there's a special article called the article of the letters of Rabbi Himnuna, the elder, and over there, there's kind of a story about the power of the different letters. And he speaks about when the letter Kaf tried to convince God to create the world with it, the whole universe shook. And everybody says, go to your place because we need you to run the show. So now you understand how important the letter Kaf is about. It's about, so the drive is of any power of a Leo to run the show. Now, we have to understand, again, when we're talking about Kabbalah, Kabbalistic astrology, and also other astrologies that are not very much different. When we're talking about a Leo, we're not talking just about people who are born in the month of Leo. Why? Because if you make an astrological chart, everyone has Leo in their chart. Everybody has the sun in their chart. Okay? Everybody has the fifth house in their chart, which is connected to Leo. So we all have Leo in our chart. The question is where in our chart we can find our personal Leo and our personal sun. But it's all coming from that place, the need. If we were created in the image of God, we need to feel godly. We need to feel like the Creator. We need to feel that we run the show of our lives. And it doesn't matter if I was born as an Aries, a Taurus, a Gemini, or any other sign. So we have to understand that the Leo is affecting us always, like all other signs, just that during this month of Leo, the month of Av, the Leo is more affecting, it's more dominant, so the tikkun, the correction, is more intense on that aspect. The aspect of the tikkun of the Leo. The tikkun of, let's see, we're talking about the lion. Now, the lion, Kabbalistic terms, the lion, Aryeh, first of all, it is when we're going to Ezekiel chapter 1, we have the most amazing story of the revelation of Ezekiel. And there in the revelation, there is the chariot of God. And in the chariot, you have four faces. And the face to the right is the face of a lion, Aryeh. In Hebrew, a lion and Leo, it's the same word. Okay? In English, you use a Latin word, so it doesn't sound like a lion. It just kind of close to it. But in Hebrew, the Hebrew didn't change. It's one language since the beginning. So it's Aryeh. Okay, Aryeh means the lion. So the lion to the right means the lion on one hand is a chesed. Chesed, loving kindness. Okay? So Leos, when they are really creating their lives and they are in charge and they're really connected to the image of God within them, which means that's what really the only thing that satisfies every human being, okay? Then they generate loving kindness to all that is around, okay? But if you take the word Aryeh, the numerical value, and again, it's very important in Hebrew because the universe is made of numbers. Everyone who studies physics knows that. Okay? The Hebrew letters are numbers. The Hebrew letters are the building blocks of the creation according to the Bible, according to the Torah. So Aryeh is 216. 216 is also Gevurah, judgment. Okay? It's a holy name, Rayu, Reish Yud Vav, okay? Which is, again, judgment. How can it be grace on one hand, judgment on the other hand? That's exactly the story of the month of Av. The great father has a power. The great king has power. What is the problem? The problem is power corrupts. The more powerful you are, the more power other people give you, the more you can get corrupted. And we know that the sun, therefore in Hebrew, has few names. One name is Shemesh. Shemesh is the number 640, which is 2 times 320, which is the basic number that symbolizes universal judgments that humanity needs to correct. But because there are two sides of them, the Rabbi Isaac Luria explains to us, so you have 320 and 320, 640, the sun. Okay? Okay, in Hebrew, shemesh. But shemesh, the word shemesh means leshamesh, to serve. Okay? Another name for the sun is chama, hot, which means, what is a leader? A leader is a public servant. Therefore, in the Torah, when we read about the king, and God says to Moses, when you inherit the land and you want to have a king, the king must write this book, the Torah, by himself and carry that Torah that he wrote wherever he goes except for the bathroom. Why? So he knows that the law is above the king. That's where we get the first uh, constitutional description of a constitutional monarchy. The king is a public servant. He is not above the law. He is not sitting on the throne representing God or as a brother God to the God of the universe. He is also God of his country or his universe, not in the Torah. So, the moment the king does not understand that, the power will corrupt him. And human beings are always susceptible to corruption because of too much power. And one of the worst problems in history is when a slave to his desires become the king of the country or the county, doesn't matter. That is one of the most worst diseases of human beings. The corruption that somebody was a slave to his low desires, to his ego, is being handed over with the power to be a king of other people. That is one of the most terrible stuff. Now, so instead of being shemesh, a servant, you become chama, you burn everybody else. So the Leo is a symbol of the human being that can be either public servant and basically use all the power handed over to him in order to serve the rest of humanity as much as he can because that's his duty, or or he burns everybody around him with the fire of his power, using the powers handed over to him to destroy the people he was supposed to serve. We know the disease since the beginning of human history. But there's something very interesting that the Bnei Yisachar is teaching us. He's teaching us that when we are talking about, he will use the next line. The next line we see the letters, the tetragrammaton, that according to the Zohar, Tikkunei Zohar, if you take the tetragrammaton, there are 12 different permutations of the name of God. Okay? These 12 permutations represent the power, the ruling power of each zodiac sign. The one for Leo is Hey, Vav, Yud, and Hey, as you see here, that we call, that in many, many, many places, when you want to mention the name of God without saying it, because you cannot say, A, you don't know how to say it, B, you don't know because you're not supposed to say it, because even if you know and you say it, you can create horrible short circuit because of that, because that name does not belong to the physical world of hearing and senses. It belongs to the upper world. Okay, so instead of saying the name that you don't say, so in Hebrew when you come to that word and you're not blessing or studying Torah, you say in Hebrew Hashem, the name. That's why instead of saying God, you say the name. Okay, but sometimes you don't want to say the name, so you say that. What is the name is a permutation of the month of Leo, Havaya. That you can say. This permutation you can say. Why this one and not the other 10? So there is a legend that says, where was it? Oh, Venet itbonen minhag avotenu Torai. He says, this is a custom of our ancestors, and their custom is the law. המנהג המורגל בישראל שרוצים לדבר זה עם זה מעניין שם הנכבד. When, as we say, it's an ancient custom where you want to mention the name of God, you pronounce it as Havaya, which is the permutation of the month of Av. Why this permutation, not another one that you can mention also? And the answer is, להיות צירוף זה החודש עתיד הקדוש ברוך הוא לעשותו כימי צאתנו מארץ מצרים בחודש ניסן, אשר בו השם הוא כסדרו. The redemption, when the redemption comes, God is going to use this permutation to generate the same miracles that happened during the Exodus. The month of the Exodus, Nisan, has the original regular permutation that you're not supposed to mention. This one you can mention because it is about to show about the coming of the redemption. And therefore, it became a custom to use that permutation, that he is the one that soon enough will bring us salvation, consolation, redemption, like the first one that brought us their redemption from Egypt. Okay, how do we see that? So as I said again, on one hand, the first 9 days of the month of Leo, and basically it's the 10 days, because the morning, which means keeping low during these 10 days, they are very, very full of judgments. That means that if we take the opportunity and we transform them, that's a power from the Messiah. Okay? However, after the 10th of Av, which the first 10 days, things become much lighter, and then we come to the 15th of Av. Let's see that. Okay? The 9th of Av is the most negative day of the calendar. The 9th of Av is the day that is totally judgment. It's a day of the snake. It's a day that we sit all on the ground in order to remind ourselves that we better not walk or run because we might stumble. I'm talking about mentally. So therefore, we want to minimize the options of us making big mistakes, and therefore we sit on the ground. So the first 10 days we have to be really ready from Rosh Chodesh till the 1st of Av, till the 10th of we have to really ground ourselves, because we know how dangerous is that place in which you really take that aspect of Leo. I know what's better for somebody else. I do not listen to anyone, and I will be the one who says what and where and how should things happen. We know that this is the source of most of the dark stuff that happens on our planet. When a person wants to really, instead of listening, learning, being sensitive, that's the negative aspect of Leo. When you don't do that, when somebody has power and the power corrupts them. They become psychopaths, insensitive. That's all the stories along history of public servants who basically betrayed the trust of the people that gave them the power. We can see in our reality today more than ever before. Why? Today it's much more transparent. Today the truth is coming to the surface in such big amounts that people are becoming numb from the exposure to so much betrayal everywhere. In the most democratic countries, you can see that betrayals of people supposed to be meshamesh, public servant, to be the son in his area, department, government, whatever. We don't have kings for life anymore. Okay? Most of the countries of the world do not have that anymore. However, still, people get the power. Somebody needs to get the power in order to serve the people. You could be a minister, you could be a CEO of a big company. The moment you get that power and you do not have the awareness how corruptive that power can become, there is an abuse of power. So if we are looking about the ailments of modern society, the society that's supposed to lead humanity, what happened? What led to the great financial crisis of 2008? I'll never forget when I read Greenspan, who was the head of the Federal Reserve, saying his words. I never thought that the people, that the economy of the American people was handed over for them to trust it as a trust will betray the American people as those people betrayed. One sentence that says it all. It was all about betrayal of power and people realizing if I have the access for the power and the money, that means it is mine, which means the descent of the modern society started the moment people stopped being public servants and they started to realize if I have the access to the power, I must be a fool if I'm not taking the power. And what about betraying the other people? They will never know. They won't care. They're too busy. Oh, nobody, I'm too strong. Who is going to hurt me? I'm above criticism. The moment that started to happen and people started to basically do that in front of everybody else, in a society that is considered to be a democracy, and in every so-called democracy around the world, almost in every place, you can see the same disease, the betrayal of the people that the public handed the power over to them. What does it mean? Does that mean it never happened before? It did happen before, but never before humanity did not have access to so much fortune, so much bliss, so much money, so much production. And people said, I'll take some more. There's so much. And you know what people took? And the result was that the market collapsed. Like if you remember, whoever knows what happened in 2000, suddenly they realized that $6 trillion disappeared. Somebody took them, not one person. But this was a looting. And that did not stop till today. The economy of today and the politics of today, it's all built on that. And the major tikkun of humanity today, everywhere, because politics, education, it's all about abuse of power. It doesn't matter if you're just a department head or you're just running a little business, whatever. That's not the story. But the story is when you have more power. If you're running the big companies or big parts of these companies, or you are just a clerk in a government. But today, the budgets of governments, the power governments have, is so huge. Abuse of power is so easy. And who would know? This is one of the biggest issues. And when we overcome that, that's a Messianic age. Transparency, integrity, humility. Um, Basically, that's what it is. Now, if you go, you could see it even that always the healing is there. You look at the word Aryeh. Aryeh is, as we said, right column, grace, loving kindness. That's one aspect. That's a healing. The Gematria, okay, the numerical number value is 216 Gvura, judgment. So, if there's no loving kindness and care and understanding that I was trusted with so much power, so I need to use it in the right way, then the judgment takes over. But also the words are of Aryeh, if you change the letters, is Re'iyah, sight. And we know that Leos really do see what others cannot see. From the point of view of the sun, you can see a better sight, a better picture of how does the solar system function. If you're on Earth, for many years people thought that the Earth is standing in the middle and everything else is revolving around. You can make a mistake being on another planet. When you're on the sun, you cannot make that mistake. You can see the picture clearly. Okay, so Leos can see what others cannot see, therefore, they're better leaders than others. However, again, if you take it for yourself, then the fire of consumption, of selfishness, and we know Leos, they do it big. Okay, like two fires, it's a double fire. So when they eat big, expensive, housing, clothing. It can be very like they have to do it big. When they are generous big. When they waste money, they do it also big. It's like I am the sun and I will tell you what to do and I do everything big. They like to do it big and they don't like to take advices because I'm the sun. The sun needs no other planets. But where you are a human being, and as a human being, you need to take an advice like a leader. That you are a leader, you're not a dictator. If you are a leader, you one among many. You hand it over just the ability to run the brainstorming, to guide. So if you use the sight, you can listen to everyone and help all of them see what you see without them realizing it was you from the beginning. That's what a smart Leo is doing. That's what a smart leader is doing. That needs a lot of sensitivity. So you see the dichotomy over here. Another thing you see, it's the letter Tet for Leo. The letter Tet is, the Zohar says, that's a letter for the word Tov, good. So, and it says in the Zohar, whoever sees the letter Tet in his dream, it means that all the bad stuff in his life came to an end. Everything from now on is just going to be good. So it's a very positive letter. However, we know the letter Tet is also Sfirat Yesod. Sfirat Yesod is Joseph the Righteous in one way, which means that is the energy of the sexual organ. And we know that Leos have every king, everyone who gets into power has that sensitive point, and a lot of them fall over that place because the reproductive organs, that is Yesod, and that can get everything. The greatest leaders fall over these issues. Okay, So either you have fertility, either you have productivity, bliss, which is activating Sfirat Yesod properly, which means the ability to bring all the light from above and share it to the world below, desire to receive for the sake of sharing, which means I want to lead, I want to see, I want to have the power so I can serve better. That is the good in the letter Tet. But also, as we said, if we are talking about the reproductive organs, they are also the source of so much passion, uncontrolled passion, that is a source of so many disasters in the history of humanity. It's all about wrong or terrible management of power. Okay, another thing, you can see it in the letter Kaf for the sun, just to complete the picture. The letter Kaf, you see the way it's written. Whoever on the top, whoever does not know Hebrew, so the letter Kaf is that letter, of course. You see there is a top line and a bottom line. The top line is the 10 Sefirot, the 10 illuminations, what is called of direct light. That's the light that we receive from the Creator the moment we wish, we desire, we want something. Okay? However, for that light to stay inside us, to be contained without it burning us, which usually it does, when people says, I want everything, I want this, usually it's a burning fire. And it's disaster because, selfishness, I never met happy selfish people. Okay, selfishness is terrible disease. Why? Because the light comes in, the Creator never says no. You receive your passions and it destroys you. How, in order for the passion to stay, you need the bottom line. The bottom line is also 10. The letter Kaf in Hebrew means 20. So the top 10 is the light we get from the Creator. The bottom 10 is, if you want 10, you have to give 10 out of yourself. Altogether you have 20. The 10 that you give by serving will allow the 10 of the receiving to stay. Which means the happiest people are those people that they want 10, they don't compromise that they want 10, but they won't compromise also about their giving 10, which means you have to earn it. So if you want it 10, you have to serve 10. So the moment transparency will come, and it's coming, it's a very painful process for humanity, because to see what he didn't see before, can you imagine? It's like somebody who's very, very, very careful about cleanliness. But the person lost their sight, they can hardly see. One day they go, they make an operation, and finally they can really see perfectly. They come home and they're so happy all the way because they see the flowers, they can see the sky, they can see the details, they see the trees, art on the way, everything is so vivid. And then they come home and they're in shock. Why? Because all of those days they couldn't see, they couldn't also clean whatever was dirty. They come in and the house is so dirty. They couldn't see that before. Because if you don't see, it can't hurt you. Now you see. We are in the age that towards the Messianic Age. And that means we see stuff we never saw before. It's hurting. It's painful. It forces us to move forward and reinvent ourselves. But that's the Messianic Age. So it's all about sight. It's all about being able to see transparency and redemption, freedom. It's all about transparency. And Therefore, after the 9th of Av, which is one day, that's a day of destruction, the most negative day of the year, okay? And then comes a few days later, the 15th of Av, which is the full moon in Leo. Here, there is a cosmic divergence. It's like convergence. The moon and the sun, it's the peak, the monthly peak of the moon, the female aspect of the creation, as we said before, and the yearly peak of the sun, which is the midday of the sun month, Leo. When they converge, okay, that is the full moon of Leo, the 15th of Av, and in the Hebrew calendar, it's called the Holy Day of Love. This is the day that so many great positive things happen, and the Talmud says there were two most happiest days along the year. One is Yom Kippur, and the other one is the 15th of Av. So the 15th of Av is the holiday of love. Why? Because what is love? Love is that unification of heaven and earth, the father and the mother, the female aspect of reality and the male aspect of reality, receiving and sharing, all coming as one. And that's also the holiday of finding your soulmate. So the month of Av has this polarity, and that's why in Hebrew calendars, it's not called Av, it's called Menachem Av. Menachem means the consoling. It starts with days of pain and judgment, but then there's a days of consolation coming after that. So these are the paradoxes of this month. So just to finish with that, so we know again the window. When we're talking about the Zohar teaching us about there are 7 windows in the heavens. And these are the 7 windows that are the 7 planets are connected to these windows. The sun is connected to the 4th window. So the letters that we have access to that window with, it's, if you know the name of 42 letters, we learned about it. Okay, the name of 42 letters. The the 4th permutation, Bet Et Reish Tzadik Tav Gimel, when we meditate on that permutation, we connect, as the Zohar says, to the 4th window. In that window, we go into, it has no meaning in Hebrew, it's just the combination, letters combination, that take us to that window of energy every day during this month. Then we meditate on, in that window, we open another window by the letter Kaf, okay? Again, the letter Kaf. And then we can pull in the positive energy of Leo, which means we all need to be creators. We all need to be servants, because every human being must use the powers the Creator handed over to them in order to serve the rest of humanity. And if we don't do that, we have to come and discover it another lifetime and another lifetime till we discover our gifts, our purpose, our calling, our service, and we really do it to the uttermost ability in our lives. Then we complete our correction. So we can see that the influence of this month has the illumination versus burning fire. Illumination, that's chama, hot, or burning fire. That's that's a burning fire is the hotness. Illumination, that giving the service, shemesh. Vitality. If we're talking about the energy of the sun, the whole life force of the solar system is coming, most of it, 99.9% is coming from the sun. It's about sight, it's about leadership, or about tyranny, which means being of service or abuse of service and bringing to destruction. So, all of these in 1 month, which is a very, very powerful and intense month. Uh, so, how do you deal with Leos? So, if we know that Leos really are very, very sensitive, so in order to when you see that a Leo is not in control, so then they come into a drama in order to bring their to attention. I need to be in the center. So one of the fastest ways you can bring a Leo to cool down is simply play with him. You're the king, I'm your humble servant. That usually quiets so many Leos. That's also their downfall because it's very easy to control them by kind of, uh, you know, talking nice to them, giving them a lot of. But most people are like this. If you talk nice to people and you're very kind to them, and you are just giving them compliments all the time, you just talk over. They just want you around. Leos are the most susceptible to that kind of behavior. So we all need to work hard during this month. We all can when we meditate on the window that I just talked about, the window of the sun, with the Hebrew letters of Betet Resh Tzadik Tav Gimel and the Kaf and the letter Tet, we can insert the positive aspect of Leo to be a creator, to take responsibility, to serve the rest of humanity as far as we can, and by this to overcome the negativity and the judgments of humanity. And that's a job of each one of us. No one can do it for somebody else. And by this, bringing humanity to a better place, a better correction, and that awareness should be achieved every year during this month, more and better than other months of the year. Thank you so much and have a great month.